He closes the door, locks it, and takes out a razor. He says he's not going to hurt me. Then he tells me what he's going to do to me and how much I'm going to like it. All the time he's talking, I can see the bulge in his pants. He orders me to strip. I do it, keeping one eye on the razor. He drops his pants, forces me down on my stomach. He spreads my legs, kneels down behind me, and rests the cold blade. Welcome to Morally Offensive, the podcast equivalent of some hot pants broad cruising around for some action. And today we are discussing a controversial thriller from one of Hollywood's most voyeuristic directors after Alfred Hitchcock.
This is a podcast about the films condemned or considered morally offensive by the Catholic Church.
We both grew up Catholic, and now we are not for reasons, but we are still fascinated by the religion that raised us. The films we cover are selected from the official film review lists of the Legion of Decency, rest in peace, and the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. I'm a motion graphics designer, editor, and DJ.
And I'm an instructional designer with a PhD in film and television studies.
And together, we are on a journey to watch every film condemned or considered morally offensive. Jess, welcome back to the podcast.
I'm back. I've just been hanging out at your house since last month.
Wait, really?
Yeah. I've been there the whole time. I've been in between episodes. I'm just frogging you and Kelly.
Were you in the dungeon downstairs?
I was in the walls.
Oh, you're in the wall. I thought that was raccoons. Okay.
That was me.
Awesome. Well, welcome back.
Thank you for letting me out.
You're welcome. This is our first episode with you of our American Giallo series.
Yes. Excited.
Are you excited about this? Are you pumped for it?
I am. The nunsploitation was fun, but I'm very excited about this.
Me too. There are some films I really love, even in their problematic nature in this series. So I'm very, very excited. And to the point that we're dangling the carrot and getting Cisco back this month, which is going to be amazing. So
it's a big
very
pull.
excited for that. It's a big pull. Cisco, he's in demand these days. Well, listen, let's get right to it. Today we are doing Dress to Kill by Brian De Palma. And in order to talk about this, I brought in a very special guest, friend of the podcast, Ava Davis. Ava is an award-winning trans actress, filmmaker, and writer based in Atlanta. She is the founder of Studio Vosges, a Sundance Trans Possibilities Intensive Fellow, as well as Her Grace, the Duchess of Atlanta. She is also a news anchor for This Way Out, the international LGBTQ radio program broadcast to over 200 stations around the world. She won a Telly Award for her contributions to the docuseries on social media In the Midst of Series, focused on the stories of over 25 trans couples. Ava, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. That lovely introduction. That was just beautiful.
Of course. It's funny. I think I missed the part where you're a fellow Telly Award winner. We both have Telly Awards. It's so cool. I know.
Look at us. That's amazing.
I feel so left out.
We'll get you one, Jess.
Yeah.
We're going to win Best Podcast or something. Maybe we'll get a bronze award. I don't know.
And then, the one that we won was a bronze. We were very late minute entry. But also, I'm really impressed that you pronounced Studio Vosges correctly. I am so impressed. Everyone always trips over it.
I think it's because of the chocolate. I think that's probably why.
That's right. Y'all do have the chocolate.
They do have the chocolate, yes. I'm full of surprises. Yeah, I don't actually know why I knew how to pronounce that, but it was in there.
I remember hearing about that chocolate way back when, more than 20 years ago, and going to Chicago and trying it, and it was so delicious.
I don't even know what the chocolate is.
And now they sell it in a whole bunch of stores. I found it in my local grocer right around the corner from the print shop. I was like, stop it.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to look it up.
Oprah made it go famous, when she featured it on her show.
Oh, that explains it. Yeah, Harpo.
That's how I found about it.
Yeah.
Harpo kept so many people employed.
I'm not Vosges chocolate rich. So, because I just looked it up and I was like, a sampler for $110.
Okay,
Dang.
I didn't pay that much when I went to the store, but I feel like a bar was $6 or $7.
Yeah, it's like that sort of like slightly premium chocolate. It's not too bad when you get a bar.
Yeah, these are like little truffles, and they look like they taste like soap. So,
I don't know what to tell you.
will say what drew me in was like the combining of like different flavors that like back then in my mind, I was just blown that you would put like chili in chocolate.
Chili peppers.
Like, who does that? These insane
that's so crazy.
Wild and wacky.
There's a bacon one.
Right, see?
There's a turmeric ginger.
Oh,
there's a cheddar and apple, manchego and cherry.
I am offended a little bit.
Well, speaking of chocolate, I don't know. That doesn't really work at all.
Yeah.
I'm curious where this is going.
Yeah.
Speaking of chocolate, murder. How do we feel about it? No.
I like to eat chocolate while I'm watching it.
There we go.
Yeah, speaking of chocolate, Giallo. What does it mean?
What does it mean? My sister texted me this the other day. I don't understand what the title of your series means. Have I seen these movies? And I was like, I don't know. Have you seen the movies? Here's the list. But my sister was like, what does it mean? And I was like, well, Giallo, like the Italian crime and horror movies, and American, and the White House, they got the eagle, the bald eagle, all that stuff, Mount Rushmore. You've heard of America. You live there.
You broke it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I explained it. And I think I also didn't know when we planned this initially that America was turning 250 this year. I'd kind of blocked it out of my mind because I was kind of embarrassed at the idea of who would be president when we celebrated it. So I think my mind shut it out. And then we announced it and I was like, oh, this is actually very funny that we have this series about American murder movies where our tagline is America is exceptional at murder.
It's not wrong.
Because it's not wrong. That's the funny part.
Number one in the world.
Number one in the world at murder. Killing all the people. Well, none of us have healthcare. But Giallo, it's this very Italian genre. Jess, could you walk me through some of like the key points of Giallo? Like what makes a Giallo?
So usually Giallo films are going to focus on like murder mystery or be horror thrillers, which is what we're seeing here, right?
Yeah.
It's going to blend a specific sort of like noir-esque thriller atmosphere. It's going to be suspense driven, right? And there's really mainly just like horror-wise going to be elements of it. So think in particular like pulling from slasher films. Right. So someone like De Palma is very influenced by Hitchcock, and you can definitely see that like through voyeurism, obviously like murder scenes, right? It's final girl type things, right? Another big theme we're going to see in Giallo-esque films, eroticism, right? French eroticism in particular.
Oh,
ooh la la.
Yes. And this usually like sort of the air of mystery around the killer, their identity, right? Usually not being revealed until the final act of the film, but being hinted at throughout is going to be another trope.
So we are going to discuss as we talk about this film, whether or not we feel that we were right in picking this film as a Giallo, because I do think it is up for debate. We're doing something a little different here. I mean, I had a journalist reach out to us who said, I tried to pitch an article about American Giallo to Collider, and they totally turned me down because they claimed that there is no such thing as American Giallo. So we're already in a place of film criticism here that is like new territory, potentially controversial.
I feel like Collider and the way that they protect the Giallo style are never going to associate it, because like associating it in this American Giallo style is going to have to accept that like it's B films that are doing it, right? And that aren't necessarily like, we can say Giallo influence. It doesn't mean it's like meeting the criteria.
But most Giallo are B films though. I mean, if you look at like, if I pulled any Giallo off my rack over there, it's almost all going to fall under the category of a B film. I mean, they come from pulpy. The term Giallo, for those who don't know, it means yellow in Italian, and it comes from originally, of course, it comes from these pulpy novels that I actually do have one. I just don't know where it is currently, but I have one of the pulpy sort of yellow, really shittily put together. I mean, they're like paperback pulp novels, detective novels, even like they would publish stuff by Dashiell Hammett, like classic detective novels in this yellow format of really fine newsprint. And the idea was they were just trash. They were cheaply made. You could buy them at stands. You might sell pornography. You could buy them at like newspaper stands. So they were lowbrow. The original Giallo films were seen as being lowbrow. It's only in the last 10 or 20 years that Americans and other people have started like view them as kind of like high art. And even then, within like serious film criticism, you'll still get some pushback beyond something like Suspiria, which is, I think, has pretty high regard for that particular movie. But there's a lot of films that people just kind of are like, well, that's a B film, you know?
It's weird how things from the bottom find a way to the top if you give everything enough time.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I mean, honestly, but I also think don't look down on B films because they rule when they're good.
And I love a good B film that's less problematic than this one. But I also think that, like, it's like you said, there's a divide between, and especially the way Collider writes about Giallo films and the way they write about international film in general. Sorry,
how do they write about those films?
They elevate them.
I'm curious.
And even they definitely elevate them to a level that, from, you know, in Italy and things like that, and like Bill's talking about reception when they were first released, were not discussed, right? And so you can even find Reddit, like film Reddit threads, where Giallo threads were like, if you didn't like this film, like, you're stupid, like, you just don't understand elevated film, you don't understand nuance, right? It's this, like he said, this weird elevation of like, if you don't get it, you're just an idiot.
It reminds me so much of that South Park episode where they're sniffing their own farts.
Yes, that's what it is. And like, even when I looked, so like, I'm just trying to find discussions right on Dress to Kill on Reddit and stuff, and in these threads, because there's a US Canadian Giallo thread, and so I'm looking through that and trying to see if Dress to Kill is on there, and I'm trying to just find some like transphobia discussions and stuff too. But instead, it's people like anyone who interjects in these threads of like, I just don't get it. I thought it was really like cheaply made, this and that. And it's like, well, that, right, like that is kind of like this lowbrow style, whatever, is kind of part of it. But a lot of the feedback was just like, well, if you have an issue with the transphobia, you're not looking at it from a historical lens, because at the time it was fine. And if you think that this like wasn't good from a cinematography lens or this or that, like you're full of it, you're just ignorant and you don't understand film. And that's such a lazy retort. And secondly, I dared to comment back on like what was a dead thread, and I reignited it, of like, hey, if the transphobia was okay for the time, why were people protesting this movie outside theaters?
You know, somebody who I will not reveal to protect their identity on here sent me a raving review of the Angel Studios movie Young Washington this week.
Oh my God.
I wrote back in the most diplomatic way possible. I said, hey, that's awesome. I'm really curious. How did they handle the fact that he became a slave owner at age 11? I got no response to that. But like, if you look
of course.
But you know, if you go back in time, like there were people even in 1776 who were calling out the founding fathers on their own hypocrisy. Anytime in history people tell you that was just the time, it's like, no, there's always a dissenting voice somewhere. They don't have the power or the money or whatever it is to be the voice that is the dominant voice from that era.
Yes, it's rhetorical power. It's not even going to be a minority. There's probably like an even bigger group than you assume that is against it. But it's the few in power that suppress that rejection, right? So no, in 1980, people weren't cool with transphobia. Like, come on.
To be fair, there wasn't even that big of representation back then. And like, even the psychologists, like they classified it as transvestism, I think, back then.
Yes.
So it's come a long way. And also too, like, it's weird because, you know, now we have the word transgender, and before it was something completely different. And even when, you know, we talk about historical figures like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, like there's always an asterisk next to transgender because that wasn't the term that was used back then. Right. And so some of the only outlet for crossing gendered lines was to be a drag queen, but it becomes a blurry thing with gender identity and all that. So I'm not apologizing for those times. They were totally wrong. Like, they were totally messed up. Like, but at the same time, there weren't many people, and even some of the people that we have now who came out, like the Black trans supermodel, who was huge at the time, a lot of them were stealth, and that goes back to safety. Like the biggest reason.
One of the biggest influences for me that way was Wendy Carlos, the synthesist and composer, who transitioned shortly after with that Clockwork Orange money she got. And I remember finding out about that. And it was interesting because with Carlos, it was one of these things where it was just kind of with the exception of PDQ Bach taking shots at her, like it was just kind of accepted. Like Wendy Carlos transitioned, and there wasn't really a label put on it. I was like, oh, so Wendy Carlos is not Walter Carlos. Okay, cool. Like that was kind of how I handled it. And then I realized I'm like, yeah, I guess that's not a big deal if somebody like, I just didn't know you could do that. Like I didn't know. Right. I was like, before that, I was just like, I wasn't aware that was a thing. I knew about drag. I knew about that there were men who preferred to dress in women's clothing, but I didn't know about what we'd come to know as transgender people really existing. And I had heard the term sex change thrown around. There's all these terms that we don't use the same way anymore. But again, like you said earlier off mic about just existing being really important, right? And representation just being like the act of existing is in many ways revolutionary because it just puts you out there in public. And for me, being a kid, getting into synthesizers and finding out about Wendy Carlos's story, that changed my whole relationship with all of this and just my ideas about gender and identity. So it's changed a lot.
I found an interview from De Palma where he mentioned how he tried to build, he used the word a shield for trans identity within the film through Dr. Elliot. And he highlights like a specific, when Dr. Elliot is talking like as the male like counterpart, right? Personality and talking about where he says transsexuality has nothing to do with psychosis, right? The transsexual wants to change their sex. They don't want to kill anybody. Dr. Elliot is a psychotic who's trying to find an excuse for his psychosis, right? And like, that doesn't undo what argument. It doesn't undo what the whole film did, right? Which was conflate psychosis and mental illness with transsexuality. Right?
It's the Buffalo Bill problem.
Yeah. On top of bad representation throughout the time of, we in the queer film community talk about, your dead gays, your dead lesbians, your dead trans, like your sad bisexuals. Like it was
Sorry. I had to laugh at the sad bisexuals.
But like this film was so emblematic of it. Like she literally ends up
the whole movie, her transness literally like used as a costume to terrorize the main character, like her entire trans identity. So one line that's not a shield. It doesn't fix that. And like, I kind of do love the idea that even people, when this came out, pushed back against that and looked at it more like bullshit.
With every movie we've examined like this, like Cruising's a great example. There was so much pushback to that. So there's no way there wasn't pushback on this. And we've found that there was. So let me ask you, Ava, I know this is your first time. I kind of threw you in the deep end on this one. I apologize.
You did.
As I often do with some of our guests. Jess, had you seen Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill previously?
I had when I was teaching the university in a class on gender and sexuality and representation in film and television. So it's been a while.
Okay. What was your initial reaction to the movie?
Horror. I mean,
well, it's a horror movie, right?
With a thriller with slasher elements. Watching it through a lens and with theory on trans identity and representation in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Yeah, it didn't sit great with me. So it was hard because like with this rewatch, it's 8 or 9 years later, and I was trying to put that aside, but I'm watching it. It's my husband's first time seeing it. He's in the background and he's like, hey, this is really difficult I'm out. And I was like,
okay.
Yeah.
Nothing but respect for him.
We love a woke Hans. Goodness.
Yes.
Hold on.
It's the only way this works. Woke Hans. His name is Hans.
His name is Hans.
Are we saying woke Hans?
Woke Hans. Yes.
Woke Hans.
I love that.
He's one of the woke ones.
I love it so much. Yes, come on, woke Hans.
Yes. And also, elevator scene, he just immediately is like, it's the therapist. I was like, all right, girl. But he's like, yeah, this is really, nope. So, yeah. And I think, I'm so sorry. I think it made me angrier this time. I think I hated it more this time.
This is definitely one of those, like, I bought it for the podcast because I wanted all the access to the special features. And now I'm like, well, my bookshelf is looking more and more like I'm a problem.
I'm really mad that I gave a company money to buy this now. Like, I want my money back.
I refused and I torrented it.
I should have. I thought about it, but I was like, you know what? Let me take the easy way out. But it's like, also, it's like, okay, Brian De Palma, like, okay, this probably should, like, I should own this in some ways because name alone. But now I regret every decision. And I am looking at him with such side eye with every previous thing that I have watched. Like, let me go review the evidence again.
And I will say, Ava, like, I agree with that because, like, I think what made it worse this time is while I'm watching it, I'm like Googling and I'm finding any reason to be like, Brian De Palma, give me a reason why this is happening. And instead, interview after interview, I'm like, oh, that made it worse. Oh, you're just digging a deeper hole here.
Yeah.
Okay. So
the interviews on the disc don't help. It makes it worse somehow.
Oh.
And then I'm like, Michael Caine. Come on, man.
Michael Caine.
Come on. Yeah.
I had so much respect for him.
Right?
So much respect.
And again, like, we can contextualize things to hell, right? Of like, it was early in his career, needed the job, this and that, but like nothing.
Well, you know, I'm sure that the Catholics, the reason they condemned this film are the same reasons we are complaining about it right now.
Yes.
I was talking about that with a friend of like, okay, you know what? We're condemning it, but for kind of different reasons.
Yes.
They're like, this is condemned morally. And I'm just like, this is condemned because it's a crime against humanity.
Right? Yes. Yes. The Catholics definitely aren't like, we condemn this, you know, for protecting trans population.
Everything. Like, this is my butter, so.
Yeah.
This is my favorite genre of condemned review because we both, like, we're in line with the Catholic Church, but for totally different reasons.
Right?
And it's never not funny. It's always funny. And sad.
Because, like, yeah. And also, when reading, and you'll get into them, but like when reading these reviews, I'm like, her being a prostitute was like the least like important and interesting thing out of, and like that was your main takeaway. At no point she looked like a classy working like a businesswoman. Yeah, like
exactly.
At no point.
It took me a second to know that she was an escort, like she was a hooker. It was like,
thank you.
Oh, that's what we're doing here. Okay,
yeah,
because I forget that she's street corners.
I forget that she's an escort when I watch it.
They let that prostitute buy that kid. It's like, first of all, that kid's a weirdo. And secondly, like, she was very motherly and maternal to him.
It was weird. It was all
so side note, while you're bringing it up, the kid is supposed to be 12 in the original script, which makes it even weirder.
This is so weird. He is. Like, but in the film, is he supposed to represent a 12-year-old? Because please tell me this is supposed to represent like a young college student.
It's Brian De Palma. It's young, like teenage Brian De Palma.
Because he's making it for like a science fair, right? But they don't distinguish like what level of school. But
they do not.
Definitely comes from money because you need money to build a computer like that in the 70s.
Yeah.
I thought about that while watching. It was like, but I mean, you can tell they have money because just look at them.
She's just spending her day going to the art museum, has nothing else to do. Like, come on.
That just sent me, that entire scene of like, I've got nothing to do. I'm going to go stare and flirt in a museum. Like, that's just wild. I want to be that level of rich.
Yeah, right? Just spend your days flirting in the museum. Well, listen, before we go into what the Catholics said, let me break down the rating system for you, since this is new for you, Ava. Ava, I assume you grew up some kind of Christian, right? Just not Catholic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Non-denominational for a long time. And then when I came out as gay as a senior in high school, my parents were like, oh, that's so weird. We're evangelicals. What do we do?
I'm sure that's how it went down. that calmly.
Verbatim.
You're like a fly on the wall.
Did they have like film lists that you should or shouldn't see in that world?
No.
Okay.
No, just a moral majority.
Okay, of course. So we had the rating system, which would show up in like Catholic newsletters or newspapers every week, depending on like where you're finding them. Eventually in the 90s, we had dial-up internet, so you could check them online. I would get much like John Waters and find out which ones were condemned and try to see those however I could. And so here's just a basic breakdown of them. Before we start, we should get some things out of the way. When we talk about the ratings on the show, we're not using the MPAA or age ratings. We're using the Catholic Film Review System. Historically, this comes from the Legion of Decency, which starting in the 1930s, rated movies based on moral content. Their system was very simple. A meant morally unobjectionable, B meant morally objectionable in part, and C meant condemned, as in don't see this film. Go to confessional and ask forgiveness for even thinking about it. Today, that tradition lives on through the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, which uses a more detailed scale, A1 for general audiences, A2 for adults and adolescents, A3 for adults only, L for limited adult audiences, and O for morally offensive. That's the name of the show. These ratings aren't about artistic merit or quality. A movie can be brilliant, influential, beautifully made, and still be rated O. So what did the Catholics think of this movie? Well, we know this was condemned along with Animal House, Caligula, and Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke, as well as, I believe, Cruising.
I mean, it's in good company.
Right.
That's some bangers in there. I mean, we've done two of those already.
Wasn't Helen Mirren in Caligula? So like that's wonderful company.
It is. And honestly, the new cut, I highly recommend seeing the ultimate cut of Caligula, the new cut that Thomas Negovan, a previous guest of our podcast, did. It restores about 20 minutes of Helen's own acting scenes, and like they're incredible performances that they've restored to the movie. So it's still a fucking mess, but like Thomas did a great job of saving what he could there, and it's worth watching the new cut, I think, personally. Some people disagree with me because they like the porn cut. It's a mess either way, but the new cut is very cool and very interesting.
Interesting.
So first of all, we have this review from the Catholic Bulletin from 1980. Dressed to Kill. A young prostitute witnesses the brutal murder of a middle-aged woman and, with the help of the woman's young son, searches for the killer, a transvestite with a blonde wig. The slip shop, I assume they mean slipshod storyline of this perfectly... Okay. The slipshod storyline of this perfectly loathsome little movie plays second fiddle to some fantasy sequences that supposedly originate in the mind of its female characters, but which seem more likely to have sprung from the impoverished imaginations of immature males who feel threatened by women. Much nudity and violence, and these are often combined. See Condemned. Okay, so Jess, you want to field this one? I see you highlighting it right now in the document.
I'm sorry. I mean, I don't agree. I don't disagree with the...
Right?
Yeah. No, I know. I was like, that's good. I agree.
Like,
they're not wrong.
Yeah. At first, I was like, when I first read it, I was like, we think females, women can't be imaginative. And then I was like, then pretty much he went on to say like, well, incels probably wrote this. It's like, yes, more accurate for sure. Again, it's what are my issues with it? It's got to be a young prostitute, right? Again, forget, like, that's the first highlight. We forget that she even was a prostitute, right? We just got to call her middle-aged, right? We just got to say the middle-aged woman. Again, problematic using transvestite.
Angie Dickinson, and can we say Angie Dickinson, respectfully, looking good in this movie.
One hot lady.
So I don't know why they're highlighting her being middle-aged. She looks great.
Phenomenal body, face, head to toe, perfection. Love it.
No notes.
Too good for any of the men in the film. Her horrid husband incapable of satisfying her, and her little love affair.
All of that was just weird with him. Like, it was just absolutely weird with him, especially in the opening scenes where, like, he doesn't even, you don't see him. It was weird.
Yes. And he is dressed like...
Oh, the husband. Okay. Yeah.
But then like, when she's at the museum with the guy that picks her up, like, he is dressed like he just got off the set of like Hawaii Five-0, but for some reason is like in New York.
Listen.
The linen. And then like, she's fearful of him the whole time, but then gotta love, like, right, that supposition of gotta be an apologetic one. I'm like, I'm so sorry, you're just trying to give me my glove. Of course I'll bang you while this cabbie watches.
Of course I'll. That orgasm in the cab with the horns are very funny.
How do we go from being chased around the museum and her being the one who's pursuing him and then being all afraid to then getting, I guess, the equivalent of being finger banged in the taxi?
Yeah.
And it's like, ma'am, you lost a glove for this.
100%. And like one of the most unsettling like shots for me is the cabbie tilting the rearview mirror down, just like shudders.
But that's De Palma pointing out our own complicity with the voyeurism.
That rear window voyeurism.
Something I do like about De Palma is that he's very aware of what he's doing, at least. So at least there's like introspection there of like he's pointing out our complicity with the voyeurism. I just don't know if it works for me as well in this movie as it does in others.
I think you're correct. And I think like, why not touch on any of that in this review? Why are we emphasizing a prostitute witness unless it's because we want to undercut titillate, undercut her reliability? Why do we have to call out that the woman is middle-aged when she is hot? Well, you know, like we're focusing on all the wrong things. And again, like my issue with this review is that, like we said, we're upset with this film for the opposite reasons of the Catholic Church, which is violence against women and overt sexuality, right? Has nothing to do with the way that like mental illness and trans identity is being conflated.
This is our first episode with access to the Catholic University of America archives.
How'd you get them?
I literally sent an email being like, I don't know how this works, but if you're listening out there, Catholic University of America, I'm looking for these files you have in boxes for the film office. And they wrote me back and sent me a ton of PDFs and said, we'll have the rest of them to you tomorrow. For every single, we're talking like multi-page PDFs. They had grad students scanning for me like right away. So I was like,
crazy.
Wild. So now they're kind of like, they've offered to help us with the show. So we're going to keep working with them, which is so cool.
How did that happen?
Literally last week.
The Catholic Church of 1980 would not be partaking in this.
I really hope I don't get them in trouble by thanking them live on the air, because I don't think any priests actually know what we're doing right now. So
it's like tomorrow they announce their excommunication. Like,
it helps. I don't know if it'll help or not, but I got this cross at Notre Dame because it reopened, and Eddie and I went there. And I again don't know how this helps, but maybe because it was a Catholic church.
Listen,
there you go. You patronized it. See, money in the system.
Not that I ever, my Catholicism tells me to be humble, keep my head down, not talk about my donations or anything, but I do donate to a Catholic high school every year. And so if they come back to me, I will just be like, here's my donation records. Let us keep doing what we're doing.
Money talks always.
Bill, my Catholicism tells me as a woman to be quiet. So I guess I shouldn't talk the rest of this episode.
Okay, bye, Jess.
Catholicism. I sat through one mass in my entire life. We left halfway through.
That was probably a good decision. It was in. Yeah. See, I was saying the whole thing in Notre Dame. The pomp, though, the circumstance.
It was. Eddie had already tripped going in there and offended French people. Because there's this little lip going into Notre Dame from the main courtyard. And so he wasn't aware it was there. And so, he trips and he starts stumbling forward. He catches on the podium.
Oh, my God.
Almost plays out on the ground. And behind us, there's just this French woman passing judgment of, this American, so rude, so disgusting.
And the rest of the time, just knowing as you're sitting through that long mass, everyone's looking at there's the guy that tripped and fell.
Yeah. And then, Eddie couldn't handle the French and then Latin. And we're like, let's just go. We came what we need to see.
If you've seen the first 10 minutes, you've seen it all.
It just repeats itself at a certain point.
It just keeps going. A lot of kneeling, a lot of standing and kneeling and standing.
The last time I was in a Catholic church was my confirmation. And my grandma was my sponsor and fell asleep and was snoring in the pew next to me.
Wow.
Yeah. She was 92.
I remember wanting a confirmation when I was younger, but not being Catholic. But I had some friends who were Catholic, and I was like, that's so weird and wild and witchy in a weird way.
Right? Yeah.
I think the last time for me was my cousin's wedding, and the priest just talked about how Jesus wanted us all to get drunk. And I was like, thank you, priest, for reading the room.
I love this priest so much. He sounds like Baudelaire.
My priest growing up was also an alcoholic. So that's... I mean, he was like literally. He would talk about it.
Man, every man who's Catholic in your Catholic stories is an alcoholic. I want to point out.
It's a Catholic church system in a tiny town
In Wisconsin.
He was sober and ran AAs. I don't know how sober. I don't know if it was like Wisconsin sober or
Wisconsin sober.
I was just thinking about the map of alcohol consumption across the country, how it just spikes in that part of the country.
Yeah, I saw that the other day
it's
too.
It's like purple here.
Yeah, and it's the whole state. Like
all of
it's
it.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in Georgia, we struggle with buying wine on Sunday at 11:30. I went to go get some to cook dinner because I like using cooking wine.
Yeah.
But regular wine is cooking wine. And it's like 10 in the morning when I'm doing my grocery shopping on a Sunday. And I took the bottle up there and was like, oh man, we're so sorry. We can't sell you this until 11:30. I'm like, what? What the actual fuck?
Wisconsin, we got 12-year-olds buying wine at 10:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's actually happening too. Speaking of drinking, I'm not sure how that transitions correctly.
I loved it.
So one more review, Dress to Kill. This is from July 24th, 1980. Now, this is part of our research from the Catholic University of America. This was written by James Sullivan, who did not condemn the movie. He gave it an A3, which means adults only. Pretty cool. July 22nd, 1980. This Brian De Palma film will no doubt outrage some people with its sex and violence. While there is sex and violence in the film, I think the film to be appropriate for mature adults and young people over 16. The film is extremely well crafted and can be both funny and scary at the same time. Mr. De Palma has made another popular film which will give this very dull July, film-wise, a much-needed lift, and the people their money's worth.
I don't think the viewers can see my face, but it is in a look of disgust and shock at calling this, what is it? Extremely well crafted and can both be funny and scary at the same time. I mean, yes to the latter point, but extremely well crafted. That's pushing it a lot.
Yeah.
This reads like an essay I turned in middle school when I didn't read the book or the short story. You know what I mean?
It was written by a big egg.
This author has crafted a clever and funny story about a young girl in Kansas who finds a tornado. And it was good. Home. I liked it.
I guess my thought too is like, if you think it's well crafted, there aren't funny points to it, right? Like the funny points are from the like camp and cheesiness. So if you find it funny, I feel like those two things are mutually exclusive.
Okay, how much De Palma have you watched though, Jess? I'll push back on this.
Not as much as you.
Okay, I struggled with the camp in De Palma for a while, being like, "Is this?" I think it's intentional. I think he knows because
I think it's intentional, 100%. Like I am aware and absolutely think that it is intentional. I guess my take on it, right, is like, I don't walk away from Carrie thinking that like the camp is funny. Right?
I think it depends on the movie because like,
or Scarface, like I'm not like, haha. Like,
I mean, I am, but you know,
sure. Mission Impossible, absolutely. I'm like, that was LOL.
Sisters, I think, has some intentionally funny moments. Obviously, Phantom of the Paradise does, which is that's my favorite De Palma
yes, movie. Absolutely. Sisters, 100%. This, I guess, I would like to contact this person and say, what are the funny moments?
Yeah, that's the thing. I would like to know what they're talking about. Because there are some jokes in here that work for me. Like, I mean, the kid is supposed to be awkward and like, some of the things thrown at him are funny, genuinely. But yeah, like, are we supposed to laugh at like the shower scene? I don't think so. So
the shower scene opening it, the shower scene that
the opening.
Wow, this is the movie that we're watching. This is the movie. We just literally jumped right in there to this not necessary scene.
To the just very like blatant psycho. It is very, once you find out the ending too, like it is very Norman Bates coded, right?
We will talk about that. Yeah.
Also,
well, listen, if you thought the last review was kind of half baked, buckle up. Buckle up for this next one. So this is coming from John Driscoll from inside the USCCB Department of Communication that was located in New York City proper on First Avenue. Dressed to Kill deserves to be condemned. This is a little later in the year, August 13th, 1980. Again, buckle up. This one is a fucking ride. I'm going to read the whole thing and then we can tear it apart because, wow. Brian De Palma, of lamentable existence. This is why I said I have to get through it.
New favorite insult, sorry. It's just ye of lamentable existence.
Okay.
I'm using that.
Trained himself for too many years in the filmmaking of low-budget thrillers. $100,000 tops. I doubt that somehow. I don't even...
Yeah.
I think after like maybe Hi Mom, they had to be more than that. This time out, Angie Dickinson and Michael Caine cost him a bit more. So after Carrie, etc., he thought he'd better give the customers their money's worth. He didn't. Ask Angie Dickinson. He has... All right. She's dead. I can't do that. He has for too long known about a master filmmaker named Hitchcock. Some pipsqueak critics like Denby in New York Magazine have mentioned that this film is the film of the 80s. Pauline Kael, in her usual menopausal excess, weighing down the current New Yorker, discusses De Palma in the same sentence with Hitchcock. This is comparable to my aligning myself in Hommage de Nicolas, simply because I may be found on sorry occasions on a golf course. I think he's talking about the golfer Jack Nicklaus there. They call this a homage to Hitchcock. This is the worst film I have seen in years. It is not only atrociously written, but it's bowling alley. Telegraphic contrivances set them up in one alley and they swing over to try and knock down the pins as they patiently await their disposition in the next. And outrageous treatment of women reveals, one, the contempt De Palma has for an audience or his own ignorance, and two, his innate lack of any taste. He brutalizes females or puts bobbleheads maybe, on their shoulders. He ought to know how to do this, obviously, as he is one himself. What other conclusion can be drawn? In quotations, by their fruits, etc. He's saying you will know them by their fruits, which is a reference to the Bible, just for context. Sex and violence come a dime a dozen in films these days, but this film deserves to get a big C, condemned, because De Palma shouldn't be allowed to get away with a calculated assault on audience intelligence by lining up a gaggle of shocker tricks that went out with The Phantom of the Opera. The film of the 80s, indeed.
I mean, he's not wrong on a lot of those counts.
No, he's not.
Right. But you can't call Pauline Kael menopausal and then go on to be like, in defense of women, this film treats them atrociously. I mean, I'm a misogynist myself, but this film is just a cake. Yeah.
This is like, we had a commenter this week who was trying to tell us we were being reductive about something I said about trads, which I am sometimes because I'm annoyed by them. But
by who?
But the rad trads, the traditionalist. So the Pope excommunicated a group of Catholics this week who are like radical traditionalists. They don't believe Vatican II was legit.
Do they know those words? Those two words together.
I know. But so somebody called us, used the R word in response to what I said. And I'm like, you can't claim to have the moral high ground, then you use the R word against me. Like, that's not how any of this works. But I mean, this comes back to, Jess, we've talked about this before, how like Catholics, it's the Madonna and whore thing. Catholics will defend the purity of a woman or the virginity of a woman.
Right.
But they'll also engage in like extreme sexism against women, which is
also
borne out by this.
Yeah. And women who like are a threat. Right. And so like, I also, while you're talking with Ava about her perception of this, I would like to, I don't know if you've done this already. I'm going to look up if Pauline Kael reacted to this, like what the reaction was to the film.
Oh, I love tea.
If I'm going to throw some shade about this at this guy, she probably didn't read it because he's not a big deal.
Oh, I hope not.
I just want to know if she talked, like what she said about Dress to Kill.
The thing I don't know is I don't know if this review went out publicly. It very well may have been an internal memo or it was a review that didn't actually go public. So I'm not sure if she would have seen it, especially because he's often showed up in niche publications and she may have responded to it. Find out. But I mean, we are dealing with some like behind the scenes stuff right now where you're dealing with niche publications or memos that are actually sent between people. This feels like a review that maybe didn't make prime time.
Oh,
Right.
no, I wanted to know Pauline Kael's review of Dress to Kill.
Oh, of Dress to Kill.
And so I see that she does have a review of Dress to Kill where she compares it to Carrie, but I don't have access to it.
Did you check the PDF? Because I have secular reviews in the PDF too.
I will check that. Yeah.
There's a bunch of, if you pull up the PDF, it might be in there.
Right.
Well, here we have one last juicy review.
These are fun. So so catty. Like
that's
an
the thing.
Assault to a lamentable existence.
The writing is so good.
The audience. Like
So this next reviewer said they suggest the film receive a C rating for nudity, foul language, and a totally unredeeming plot. All right, let's dive in. This is by Al Frank from July 28th, 1980. So this predates the other one by a couple weeks. Brian De Palma has always had a flair for excess, but he generally has kept it within bounds, and with a keen sense of humor, has usually balanced things so that movies like Phantom of the Paradise, Carrie, and The Fury could be enjoyed for their ironic touches. Lately, though, he's been taxing our patience. The absurd home movies, although starring the likes of Kirk Douglas, was an insane piece that we thought could mostly be blamed on the fact that it was charity work. De Palma made this picture with his film class at Sarah Lawrence College, but De Palma doesn't share his credit for Dress to Kill, the sex murder spoof, so there's no one else to blame for this bollocks job. The strange story might be overlooked were not the picture so dramatically out of control. We spend an inordinate amount of time getting to know the first victim, a fantasizing middle-aged housewife, there we go again, played by Angie Dickinson, who is in therapy with Michael Caine. When the deed is finally committed, it is witnessed by a hooker played by Nancy Allen. So Dickinson's brainy son, Keith Gordon, latches onto her in hopes of solving the crime. But plot is clearly not De Palma's chief concern. He throws away any mystery that might have shrouded the perpetrator by an extended look rendered on a staircase at Bellevue Hospital. In between, he laces Allen's lines with double entendre, which, after Dickinson's disappointing string of ill-fated coincidences, managed to bring Dress to Kill to a level that is so absurd, it looks more like a film class prank than a serious project by a serious movie maker. What especially aggravated me were the dream sequences. They afford De Palma two endings, in addition to a false start, and neither is satisfying. The only surprise of the picture is Dickinson, who commands a double for nude scenes, playing middle-aged listlessness so convincingly. Another is Allen, who does her own nude scenes for husband De Palma. Not only is she unconvincing in the part of a high-class call girl, but the role is further encumbered by a lackluster delivery and a poor sense of comic timing.
God, these men are monstrous.
Absolutely scathing.
Like you're telling me you care about women and you're appalled by what De Palma is doing to women, and then you talk about women this way.
Only they can talk about women that way. Like, it's bad when De Palma shows it, but they still need to be able to talk about women that way.
Yeah, and like, are we more impressed with the woman who does her own nude scenes or the listless middle-aged actress who commands a body double? Like, what?
They can't pick a lane.
Yeah.
Shame.
I don't know.
Can we start our own website where we just make criticisms of these criticisms? Can we just write responses?
I mean, honestly, we could do it with a Patreon or our Substack. I've been thinking about do we start a Substack to host all this? Because then we could eventually make a book with all of these in it,
Yes,
so
that would be
I thought about it.
amazing.
Yeah, we can start adding it to Substack.
I would be obsessed with that. I found an excerpt from Pauline Kael's review that may be what sparked so much rage in that gentleman. But so one of the most sheerly enjoyable films, this sophisticated horror comedy is permeated with the distilled essence of impure thoughts. De Palma presents extreme fantasies and pulls the audience into them with such an apparent ease that the pleasure of the suspense becomes aphrodisiacal.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't think that's menopausal, but...
No, I mean, obviously she loved it and he hated that she loved it that much.
I'm wondering if it's one of those things that need to be placed in context, like other literature about women discovering their sexuality, and this in the same sense of coming out of the 60s, the 70s,
Yeah.
and now going into the 80s, and this sort of liberation of women from the 50s housewife
Yes.
archetype.
I love that lens. Like, I love, because the verbiage that keeps coming up, like Ava has hit it on the head of like this middle-aged sort of like focus on middle-aged menopause, all these things of like, you shouldn't be sexual, right? Like Bill and I were talking, it was like dirty 30s. He's like, she's older than like dirty 40s, like maybe 50s, like dirty 50s. Like, these guys don't like it.
Yeah.
They don't want anyone who's sexual beyond being 25. Like,
they're the Leonardo DiCaprios of the film critic world, right? Keep them young forever.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
You're welcome.
And thank you.
And I mean, that's the thing. It's funny again that like the Catholic reviews, none of them mention the transgender themes or like what's going on with Michael Caine's character at all. And I didn't have time to go through like the Village Voice or anything to see what they were saying about it. I'm sure there was some interesting contemporary criticism in that vein there, but we mainly focus on the Catholic reviews just because there is so much to go through.
Yeah.
And also there are some brilliant podcasts that have already covered that angle. So I would highly recommend checking them out. There's lots of good ones out there.
I love this angle though, like the Catholic Church and what it deems morally offensive. Like, that's such a specific niche, and it gives you so much good material to work with.
The irony of it is what gets me, where, again, we just saw it with this, where they're complaining about the way Brian De Palma treats women, and they're calling Pauline Kael, one of our finest film critics, menopausal. It's wild behavior.
And then to read, like Ava said, the context is key to then read an excerpt from her review that he's kind of like rebuttaling, right? Where, right. I mean, she's definitely into like very into like the sexual fantasy aspect of the film. So it's like, of course, this like menopausal aged woman's into that.
But I read into that, and I got into trouble, and there's so much in my literature class, but reading into what authors or people write. But I can see, like, I don't know how old she was when this movie came out and when she was seeing it, but I can see seeing this lead woman who is middle-aged and being sexual and not necessarily owning it, but like following her desire. And again, this idea of like representation and being able to see that, and in a weird way, being given permission to like pursue what sexuality can be at any age.
Yeah. So Pauline Kael, to answer your question, would have been 61 at the time that the film came out and she published the review.
I love it. Look, I want to be 61 writing about sexy movies.
Right? I want to be using the word aphrodisiacal.
Right.
About
more than just myself and text messages.
Yes, I want to publish it in the New Yorker.
Exactly.
And then also just tell people, like, move on with your loathsome existence, right? Like,
right.
Bill.
Well, hey. Well, listen, let's get into the movie itself. We'll start with Act 1. Jess, would you like to walk us through Act 1 of this movie?
Sure. So in the first act of this erotic thriller, although now we've also seen maybe comedy, I'm missing that though. The first act serves as sort of like self-contained, very psycho-inspired narrative arc that is definitely going to inform the rest of the film. So it focuses entirely on Kate Miller, played by Angie Dickinson, a sexually unfulfilled Manhattan housewife. So after a morning tryst with her husband leaves her feeling unfulfilled, and her psychiatrist, Dr. Robert Elliott, rejects her advances, Kate visits the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where a silent, seductive cat and mouse game with a mysterious man leads to a passionate encounter, first in a taxi cab, then in his apartment. So once at his apartment and waking up later on, Kate discovers medical papers on the man's desk, revealing that he has active venereal disease. Distraught and guilt-ridden, she flees his apartment, but realizes she has left her wedding ring behind on his nightstand. So, having gotten on the elevator, she takes it back up to retrieve it. And when she's trying to get off the elevator, is brutally slashed to death with a straight razor by a mysterious blonde woman in sunglasses who looks a lot like a blonde Carmen Sandiego. So the act closes with this murder, right? And it is witnessed by I wanted to add this high-priced call girl, Liz Blake, who happens upon the scene in a very, what I think is kind of cool scene, witnesses the act in a mirror in the elevator, and happens to catch a glimpse of the killer, seeing that it's a blonde woman. And it starts to now shift the film's focus, that Giallo-esque whodunit, right? Because seeing that the killer is still in the elevator, Liz decides not to intervene and help Kate, right? Lets the elevator door close again, but she is the witness and grabs the straight razor.
Nice.
That was a lot to unpack.
It was a lot. I'm like frozen in fear of talking about it now. So I guess let's unpack the opening of this movie.
I hated
this
it.
Is
right?
Yeah, you're immediately thinking it's she's in the shower, right?
Yes.
And of course, and this is like one of the big criticisms Brian De Palma faces throughout his career is like he steals a lot from Hitchcock, and it's always a question of like, is this homage? Is he doing anything new, or is he just stealing from Hitchcock? And that's like the eternal question.
Is it stealing or inspired?
Right?
Yeah, and I even want to push it further to like, it's inspired in a not good way. It's not like I see it.
It's kind of postmodern. It's kind of postmodern pastiche at times, maybe unintentionally so.
What?
That was the most craziest phrase I've ever heard, and I love it so much. I'm so glad I was here to witness that.
Are you De Palma 69 on the Reddit thread?
Yes, it's me.
Because when I think of inspiration, I'm thinking of like, how can I be inspired by an author I love, but make it my own and add something new or niche or improve on it, right?
Of course.
And like, so if I'm going to think of like the shower scene from Psycho, what do I love about that scene? I love the fact that we don't see violence firsthand. It's implied with sound, right?
And there's the build-up.
And the build-up, yes. And the music. That's missing from here. I also, when I think of like the toilet flush in Psycho, the water going down, the blood going down the drain, the shot to her eye, those scenes overlapping, those crossfades, and like how great, and again, the implied violence of that. And like, that gravitas is missing from this. It
felt explicit. Like that's what this opening was. Is it just felt explicit and exploitative? And it's like, let's do something for the manly producers who did not need to throw them under the bus. I don't know why, but here we are.
No, you can. I actually have good behind the scenes info on this part.
Oh, am I right?
Oh, damn it.
Because I love being right.
So Angie read the script. You have to say at the time she was on a show as a cop. I think it was like A Woman Cop was the name of it or something like, or like Female Cop.
Because I didn't know
look it up. It was something ridiculous where you were like, really? They called the show this? Like Lady Cop.
Oh my gosh.
It almost sounds like it's a joke when you hear the name of it. Jess is laughing right now on the camera.
You found it. What is it?
Police woman.
Yeah, there we go. Police woman. I was like, it's like something like a lady cop or police woman.
I'm imagining the theme song like police woman, lady cop, police woman, like it or not. Like,
when this goes, I will find it. And when we put this on the socials, I will post clips from that.
But the promos, woo! She looks
steamy.
Good.
I mean, look, Angie Dickinson, yes.
Listen,
Thumbs up.
I saw Angie Dickinson, but I am of a certain age where I just thought Angie Harmon. And so for a long time, I was like, I did not know that she was that old. How did she star in this movie? And then ChatGPT was like, listen, you fuckface, that you're confusing two different people. Stop it.
Oh.
Whoa, some of these promos are... She had an action figure too. Oh shoot!
Even the action figure is kind of hot. The promo where she's holding like the gold gun. What?
Yes, spicy.
Yeah.
So but they pitched this to her, and she was like, "I'm a policewoman. I can't be in a nude scene in a shower." And De Palma was like, "Well, we get you a body double." And she was like, well, I guess that's all right. Granted, they still show like wide shots of her. Like, it's fuzzy. It's fuzzy, but you can make it out. I mean, you can get an idea in your head. But they used the body double, which she did not know that a crew member actually told her after she signed off on all this and after they were shooting the damn thing, she's in the break room or whatever as they're shooting the scenes with her double, and somebody came in and is like, they're shooting in there, right? And she was like, what? She was like, they're doing like full beaver shots. Like it's all like bush shots and stuff. And she was like, wait, what? And so she didn't know. And then this thing went out into the world and she was kind of like, well, I guess people think they've seen police woman's, vagina now. So,
my God.
Yeah. I do like that she requested that the model not be too good. That was very funny. She was like, the model's body can't be too good. I need it to be like, realistic, which I thought was funny.
So Policewoman ran for 4 seasons.
I love that we're just down Policewoman rabbit hole.
I'm sorry. I'm going to watch it now.
I am down the same rabbit hole.
Right? So 74 to 78. William Shatner's in it?
Oh, hell yeah.
This show needs to be rebooted.
Is this on Tubi?
Danny DeVito? What?
That's wild. Everything about this conversation is wild.
I mean, this whole movie's wild. The whole how did this get made is wild. It's just... I
have so many questions on how this got made. After seeing the opening, all of those questions were answered on how this got made.
And Mady Norman is in it. Yeah, right? Yeah.
I mean, men, that's the answer.
I also just so full disclosure, I took a gummy before I started watching this, and I
as one often does,
that I needed to get some things off of my list done, like watching this movie. So I was like, all right, well, I took a gummy, I'm fine. So I was totally live typing the entire time watching this, and I was like, all right, my gummy is really kicking in right now.
Oh no.
And so I just wrote about everything, but what really stands out to me is like me writing, this is the worst sex scene I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like there's no differentiation between her like fake orgasm with her husband and her orgasms with her lover from the museum.
None. They were so awful. But not only that, then I was like, I wrote like these two had never had sex before, but let me not kink shame. But what really got me was a little tap on the jaw after getting off. That just sent me.
It was also the thrashing, the violent
it's
thrashing.
Like, that's how?
Yeah.
No.
Just very, it's very, do you remember the herbal essences commercials?
Yes.
This is giving herbal essences. Not a realistic orgasm, very stylized.
I also thought of 30 Rock when, I don't know if either of you watched 30 Rock, but Jane Krakowski's character, when she does her like get hard with Jenna little like workout videos, and she's doing like the like doing those, I thought of that immediately, like the soundtrack when she's recording it for those workout videos. Like that's what was happening.
I also talked about the second shower in the movie, and at that point I wasn't entirely convinced it wasn't a movie about a shower.
I do kind of like the breaking of the reality of it when the guy pulls her into the fog of the shower and she disappears. That was kind of visually interesting, but I think it's goofy a little bit in the context of the greater whole. But I do like that idea of like pulling, like just visual concept of like pulling somebody into the fog of the shower, like the endless dream shower, because we get the dream shower at the end too. So it's like they kind of connect in that way.
Right. And like from the opening scene, like, does she want to be choked out by a dude in a shower? I don't know.
Yes. Also, I had so many problems with all of the opening scene and just the sexualness and the violence. And I feel like a Catholic priest condemning this movie.
Yeah.
But it's just, I just so truly morally offensive.
I love when the Catholics condemn something and they totally miss the obvious stuff that's there that we are all talking about, where we're like, how did you miss the elephant in the room? And I'm also not saying don't see this movie. I would never say it should be censored or banned. It's just kind of like, what were you thinking when you made this movie? Listen,
I had to watch Lonesome Cowboy last year, not once, but twice. Once to review it for a symposium that we're doing. And then I had to actually watch the symposium again, or the film at the symposium. And that is a movie really no one needs to watch. Like,
wait, did you say Rhinestone Cowboy?
Lonesome Cowboy.
Oh, Lonesome Cowboy.
Yeah, that is the what's his face.
That's the Andy Warhol one, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, that's
was-
a rough. Yeah,
That I was not prepared. Like no one warned me.
it's supposed to be satirical, but it's not.
Morrissey is weird in general. The filmmaker, not the vegan.
What were you saying, Ava, about it?
Just we were watching it because like a notable Atlanta queer icon was watching Lonesome Cowboys when our raids happened. And so she was stopping the movie at the exact point where everything happened. But then we continued watching on. And it's like, this movie should not have been made. I'm watching the sole female actress, what felt like, get physically assaulted on set because they were freebasing God knows what kind of drugs. Again, I sound like the moral majority, but freebasing drugs and God knows what and simulating acts. And it's like, actor safety, like as a performer, that would terrify me because you don't know what your scene partner is going to do and you can't trust them.
Yeah.
I will always be on the side of moralizing when I think there's a situation where actors were endangered on a set. I talk about this a lot. When we finally do Passion of the Christ, I'm going to talk about this quite a bit because Jim Caviezel was injured multiple times on the set and now spins it with some God talk. But it's like Mel Gibson put people in harm's way on that set. And and I felt that way about Blood for Dracula in some of the sex scenes where it just felt like, I mean, this is before intimacy coordinators were popular, obviously, but still there's a level of responsibility on set to make sure people feel safe and, everything's kosher.
And even just from like a logistical standpoint and a cinematic standpoint, for me, there was a little bit of a struggle between like, not a lot, but like between what was her fantasy versus reality and those transitions. And
it's not clear.
Conflating that. Right. Yeah.
And I'm normally all about things being vague or like confusing in terms of like leaving it open to interpretation. But this just feels like maybe it's not as clear as it could be. And I think part of that's a struggle with the filmmaking. Some people might disagree with me. I feel like this isn't as well made as some of the films he made before this. I
would agree.
Like Carrie.
100%, because I think Carrie cinematically is great. I think there's still that like thriller aspect and stuff, but it's not like misleadingly vague. Like the opening, I remembered how much I hated the opening of this film when I rewatched it. How like, if you're going to ground the remainder, right, the whole first act on this woman's lack of passion and just like hatred of her marriage and like disdain for her husband, make her soul interaction with him clearer before you then just really quickly segue into a therapy session where she's talking about like, I can't just tell him he's bad in bed and all this stuff, right? Like it just, I don't know, left a bad taste in my mouth.
If he's bad in bed, what was that orgasm? That was so, why did that sex
yeah. And like I get right, and then he just pops right out of bed and like
she's a good actress. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but
so during that scene I was like, well, based on how she's acting, like, oh, she's faking it. But then when she was in the cab, I was like, is she faking that? Like I don't.
This is such a like a man wrote this script in terms of like what he thinks women's fantasies are. Not that women don't have fantasies that are like about like violation that way, but I do feel like men like De Palma so often go straight to that as like the only type of sex fantasy a woman has, or even like a romantic fantasy. And I think it's like, it's a trope that's just been done so much that it feels like, I don't know. It's one of those things where I think like a woman, if you'd brought in a woman even as a co-writer, it would have worked better for me. Just because it does feel like Brian De Palma really just leaning into his own sensibilities and his own kinks a bit, which is, I think, the struggle. Well, plus it's just the 70s, 80s of it all of like, I feel like every horror movie from this period is like violence against women constantly.
So much.
Like where it's just like, I can't, like, you can only handle so much.
Can I segue now into like the other part that I just absolutely hated from Act 1?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes. That
they're at the Met, but they're not at the Met.
They're at the Philadelphia
Sacrilege.
Museum, right?
Yeah, the Met. The Met got a script ahead of time. It was like, hell no, this is so horrible. You will not film here, but we can't stop you from filming the outside. And then he's like, hey, hometown of Philly, De Palma. It's like, can I film in the Philadelphia Museum of Art? And they're like, yeah, sure. And he's like, well, I'm just going to do a bunch of tight shots and make people think it's the Met. No one thinks this is the Met.
What does that say about Philadelphia?
But especially after they left, and I was looking at the architectures they're writing in that taxi, I was like, that's not New York City. That feels, I have never been to Philly. I was like, that feels like Philly. Like,
yep.
Yeah. And 100% of like the Met's like, this is base, this is violent, this is beneath us, it's in poor taste. And Philadelphia's like, yeah, come on. In here.
Got to go to the second tier cities, I guess. I
love it.
Did love the ovaries that she had on her to try and like come on to her therapist. I was just like, wow, that takes something. That takes a lot of something.
Wild behavior.
I'm just like, my therapist, hey, let's do the nasty. Let's bump uglies.
Yeah. And then he, like, I just, like, my only note for that was, like, he's a bad therapist. Because he's just like, of course I want to, but
my wife.
I love my wife.
Right.
It's not worth jeopardizing my wife for you. But I would. And then he does the same thing later on with the prostitute. Are you attracted to me? Of course.
He's a bad shrink. He's not good at his job. I mean, that's
because, I mean, he himself is... Bobby should have won, is all I'm saying. But it's
justice for Bobby.
Yeah, but there are some definitely like cool things happening in Act One. I love the like use of mirrors and doubling and things like that. Right, the bathroom, her dressing room, the murder scene, like the mirrors in the elevator, like. Fantastic. Even though it's not the Met, the like kind of as she's right as they're doing this cat and mouse game through the museum and through these winding rooms and things like that. I love this sort of like, and I did rewind for that, like the story that's being told as she's kind of walking through where like the way the art is changing, where she's going through these different exhibits and she's starting with like the painting that she's looking at is Alex Katz's Sylvia. It's like very simplistic, traditional portrait, a refined woman, right? Like kind of indicative of Kate. And she's in the traditional art area. And then she starts going into more like modern art, getting into contemporary art as the music's getting like more frenetic and things are getting a little scarier and things like that. And it's a little more uncomfortable and she's about to take a risk. Like I like that sort of like those little touches or like the symbology of like leaving her wedding ring behind, the fact that, right, she gets killed because she's going back to get it. Because like this sort of like symbology that her marriage is like killing her and stifling her. The straight razor, right? Yeah. Female killer using this like very masculine male tool. Those are all cool things, but it still doesn't forgive everything else.
Some great cinematography from the DP of Uncle Buck.
Which Uncle Buck is one of my favorite childhood movies ever.
I'm not hating on Uncle Buck. I'm just not. I love.
No, I'm just saying that it's not Ace Ventura problematic. It's just
I need to rewatch that movie.
I love Uncle Buck. Which is so when I saw that the cinematographer Ralph Bodie he did Uncle Buck. I was like, Saturday Night Fever, Uncle Buck, The Accused, yeah.
I know there was a
coal miner's daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
He has a really varied.
It's very varied, yeah.
I love someone with a resume who's like, yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do it.
I love working cinematographers, directors, actors. Like people are just like, I need a project. Let's go.
Yeah.
And they aren't overly concerned with like how that looks on paper. They're just like, I just want to work. I know that's not always great for a career, but I love Nicolas Cage.
He's made a career out of it along with his family name without using his family name at all.
Yep. Samuel Jackson's another person who just works. Like Samuel just works. Yeah.
That's the type of actor I hope to be. Maybe I am. I don't know. But it's just like, I want to do projects because they sound interesting. And like, I just want to get out of my house. And you people sound fun.
Absolutely.
Well, and like I love Samuel L. Jackson in interviews, like no life experience is beneath me, like, and anyone. And and that came about in an interview being asked about being in Marvel movies, which like I hate that these actors have to be pressed so much for making that choice, or the ones that fall prey to and are like, I just needed the money. Like, no, they're fun, and I'm sure it's really fun to like act in and be in.
Look, a lot of the movies I want to be in, I don't actually want to watch, like, just because the experience will be fun. But I know, like, I would hate sitting through this, but is it going to be fun making it? Totally.
Heck yeah.
But it's because it's myself. I don't have to watch it anyways.
Yeah. And what's wrong with that, man? That's
nothing.
That's fantastic. Like, mindset of, I feel like I'm trying to think of like, I don't think I'd ever want to act in a horror movie. Like, we just watched Obsession, which so many thoughts on that. But like, I could never act in a film like that. Like when I saw behind the scenes things, what she had to do.
Oh.
Like, no. Having to sit there and like pretend to pee my pants and stuff. I can't do that. Like,
or like green screen acting would drive me insane because I've done enough on green screen like talent type stuff where I'm just like, or it would just feel like auditioning all the time, right? Like,
oh my God. Why would you say that? Oh, that's terrible.
But it does traumatized Ava.
Oh no, I'm sorry. But you know what I mean though? That feeling
I know
of like,
exactly what you mean. That's
and you're just like, what do you want from me?
Truly. And the whole fun of being an actor too is interacting with other people. If you're just constantly green screening and there's no one around and you're acting to a ball, it's like, I could be doing this at home on TikTok.
Yep.
Like,
I always come back to the Hobbit special features where Ian McKellen is in a room. It's just a green screen Ian McKellen and like the camera crew and a ball on a stick. And he just has like a total breakdown where he's just like, what am I doing right now? And like, I feel like if I had pursued acting harder than I did, like, I feel like I would end up doing like as many like dramatic things, like two people in a room having a conversation as I could, because for me, that was always the fun of black box and theater was like working with another person to create a story. And like, but as somebody who does video, it's like, when you think about directing films, you're like, oh, I'd like to make this big grand thing. But as an actor, you're like, give me the smallest thing possible with other human beings. You know?
I am in rehearsal for like just a 2-person on stage, and it is so exciting and scary, but it's like, I'm going to just like playing verbal tennis with someone, and it's just like exhilarating.
The best. It's so much fun, and have fun with that.
I think I will.
Let me ask you both, what do you think about De Palma's use of split diopter shots as well as split screen in this movie? And in general, if you've seen other movies where he uses split screen and split diopter shots. And for our audience, I'll explain what this is. If you watch the movie or you've seen movies like this, a split diopter is a lens that it's like split, and one side of the lens is keeping the right side in focus while the left is keeping a different part in focus, usually farther away. So it's keeping like the background and the foreground element in focus. And usually you line up the shots so that the split in the lens is actually at like a wall or the edge of something, so you can't really tell where the focus line changes. Given that, Jess and Ava, what is your opinion of his use of that in this movie? And if you didn't like it or did like it, like, how does it compare to other uses in other films of his, like Carrie, Phantom of the Paradise, Sisters?
It's better in Carrie, I think. Again, I think with mirrors in this film, it's great. Like in the therapist's office, the elevator, phenomenal. But that's my thought. Ava?
I feel like I need to go back and rewatch that because, like, I feel like there was so many other things I was just outraged about that I totally missed that.
It's not as frequent as like Carrie and stuff. So like you're not wrong to have missed it. It's, again, in this film, it's really heavy around mirrors and windows.
And also just long tracking shots is the other thing. Yeah.
So like the way he is going about it in this film actually, I think obfuscates that it's happening and kind of hides it. Where in Carrie, I think it's really apparent and a lot of more close up, like eye level shots that he's doing that. And in this film, I think it's hidden a little bit more. And I think it definitely, there are some cool scenes, or like even again through like at the police station when the son is like eavesdropping with his little spy equipment, and they're talking and it's through the window, or what in the therapist's office, watching a woman, his back's turned, it's through the window, very rear window scene, the mirror in her dressing room, the mirror in the shower, and again, the murder scene of where we're behind, I forgot the sex worker's name. Liz?
It's Nancy Allen, yeah, but it's Kate.
Yeah.
Liz
oh no, sorry, Kate is the housewife.
Liz. Thank you, Ava. Where the camera is behind Liz, but we're watching Liz watch her own reflection in the watching the murderer, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's
a lot of the things in the movie felt very technical, and I feel like I don't have a lot of the knowledge of the technical things, but what I did, I could pick up on it, and I could pick up that he's trying to do something really intentional here with things, and it seemed like a lot of setup, and all I was thinking about was, as an actor, how much time I would have to wait for them to set up that shot.
Oh, that's a really interesting perspective that we lack. So that's interesting.
And they're just trying to get it right. And then then the technical aspect of acting comes in, where it's all right, you need to stand here. You can only move your head so far. And it's oh my God, yes, it's going to look gorgeous, but it's probably going to take 4 or 5 hours to get exactly right while delivering lines and then needing to hit certain marks.
And you're filming, you're trying to hide cameras from mirrors and stuff too. And
have you ever heard of The Bonfire of the Vanities, the film that kind of is his ultimate bomb?
I did watch that movie years ago, for a film class of all things.
That's wild, because it's kind of a pretty derided movie. There's some people who will champion it, but it's kind of regarded as one of his biggest flops. And
I remember enjoying it when I watched it. I don't know why.
I'm sure it's fun. I've not seen it all the way through, and I hear it can be fun, but it the budget was so high for what it made back that it was a massive flop, and then critically it just didn't do enough. But there was one shot in there where he had an airplane shot that could have easily been second unit or stock footage, but De Palma needed to be at the airport. I think it was LaGuardia or JFK, one of the two, at this certain time on this certain day of the year, because the sun would set right behind where the plane was coming in on the runway, and he had to get that shot. Yeah,
it's so specific, and those are the things that drive me crazy as an actor and also producer short films, where it's just now in the grand scheme of things, was spending that $200 million on that one shot worth it? And they always
exactly.
Yes, it was, and it's but we see it for half a second.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this another Giallo film aspect, which is kind of form and style over story?
Yes, which I don't always mind.
Right.
I don't mind it, but the story's got to be a little bit better.
The original Suspiria is a great example of this. The original Suspiria has a great hook for a very simple story, very easy through line, but that movie is a vibes movie. It's you're in there for the mood and the atmosphere. If it didn't have the mood and atmosphere, it wouldn't work. And this movie, I know there are people who absolutely love and ride or die for this movie, for better or for worse.
Why?
I don't know.
It's in the
Criterion collection. I
want to ask Ava. So, from your perspective, for you for this film, and I think I know your answer, does the form override the story and its misgivings for you?
It does override, and it does so badly. It feels like there's so much focus on these technical shots and technical setups and things.
Yes.
Meanwhile, when you're watching some of this, it's man, I mean, I know that this was the acting style back then, but even then, this is just rough to watch. And also the story doesn't make sense. And also, why is she sleeping with him? And ma'am, what is going on?
All of that, because this style is also not my bread and butter. So when I see something like this happening, and I see these technical shots, but also the employment of these technicalities is inconsistent, I think, in this film in a way that it's not in Carrie. And so for me, I see these moments, the moments get deflated as much as the elevator scene, oh, that's cool and that's cool. it's deflated because I'm like, oh, well, it's masking this and this, and it's trying to cover up a lack of this in the story, and like trying to like overshadow these like glaring gaps and omissions.
I think
this felt like a model movie where that's you take pretty people and you just position them, and it doesn't matter what they say because what matters is what they're looking like. And
so the neon demon.
I wrote in my notes, this isn't a talking movie, it's a watching movie. There's so much being told by action and set design. And I think at this point, it looked like someone wanted to try their hand at doing the painting L'Origine du Monde, where you got that big just frontal of the bush. And it felt like wanting to recreate all of that with set design and other things. And it's like, was that necessary? Was all of this necessary?
And one of the best scenes is the art museum, no talking.
Right.
You're getting at something that I think a lot of critics have said about De Palma, which is that he is so obsessed with trying to do what Hitchcock did and take it to maybe. But I think the museum scene is a good example of where he takes the Vertigo museum scene and he elevates it into something that is more interesting. And I just wish that was more consistent throughout the film. Do you know what I mean?
There's an urgency. He's telling a story with the artwork, the way he's created like this look of like a continuous shot and this like labyrinth, like weaving through and splice the shots, right, of her and him and their journey through the museum is brilliant. You've do got not see that through the rest. Yes.
You've got the guilt and shame elements going on. Yes. I love that. And I think it's kind of destroyed by when she opens the drawer and discovers the STD diagnosis.
That was so...
I laughed so hard.
That was a choice. And I'm like... Yes. But also, too, so what I hate is the fact that this is punishing desire in women. And like, she's already made to feel guilty about it. She's already dying for it. But now on top of this, like, she has to suffer the indignity of like, she's finally getting pleasure after really bad sex at the beginning. And like, all about her pleasure. And it has to come at this like, this whole connotation now with being made to feel dirty and unclean. Like even the way we talk about STIs now, being dirty and clean. And I don't know if that existed back then, but yeah, that was so unnecessary.
Yeah, it is very Catholic though, if you think about it. I mean...
very guilt-inducing. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, very guilt. So if he's going for Hitchcock, that's very on brand. When she opened that drawer and found out the guy had a venereal disease, I was like, oh, come on. I would love to see us in a movie theater with an audience, just because I would love to see how other people react to stuff like that in this movie.
It would have been fun to watch me react to this because literally it was just me watching it because my husband was out of town.
Yeah.
But I was vocalizing so much of like, wow.
In my out loud comment was like, who keeps that? Like, who files that away?
Let me just put that where someone could easily discover it if I have them sleep over and they rummage through my things.
And
if he had just gotten it, though, he might have had to, because a lot of times when you get that, you have to inform your recent sexual partners that you...
I don't think they were doing that back then. Like, this was like literally HIV was taking off and you could use penicillin for everything.
Yeah, contact tracing was real fast and loose. Back as it still is now, like back then. So like that didn't even start until like the late 70s, and there were not protocols in place to like ensure people were contacting. And also like shocker that the man that chased you around the museum and banged you in a cab, that it wasn't his first time doing this.
Right. Like, but then it's also like, but ma'am, you chased him back. Like, what is that saying here? What message is that sending?
Yeah.
I mean, it could be saying a lot of things.
So I felt like the glove being left behind was a loose end I didn't like. Yeah. It's just like, okay, but what about this damn glove? Because we spent like 5 hours in this museum with this damn glove going back and forth of like, how dare you? But dare me. But dare you? Like, and then for her to just leave it outside as she gets into the taxi, which also felt a bit like kidnapping a little bit. A lot.
He yanked her.
Right. Yeah. It's just like so many problems. But the glove, ma'am, you left your glove behind, and I miss a time with gloves.
And did you notice the complicated outdoor setup? Speaking of complicated setups at the museum, where we're on the steps and she had to hit a mark. And then Michael Caine is actually, or the double, because they also had, I think when it's the woman, they actually didn't, when the wig and everything, Michael Caine is wearing the wig. It's not actually Michael Caine. It's the same actress who played the policewoman later on.
Yes, I read that.
To throw us off the set. Yeah. But did you notice that during that complicated dolly shot that she is actually in there? As the camera crosses to the cab, we cross right in front of her. It's like very brief, but she's like in there and looks over at the cab.
Because I mean, he knew, right? Like that was, I did not notice that. My big question was like, how did Bobby know? How did Dr. Elliot know? How did he and she know?
I did wonder about that. Yeah. I really did wonder,
yeah. No, there are clues throughout the film once you see it a few times that you start to pick up on, but it's definitely
no thanks, I'm good.
You don't watch it more? Come on.
Twice is good.
All right, well, guess what? We're going to have one more episode of talking about this movie, so you get to watch it some more, Jess. You get what you wish for.
I'm so sorry, Jess. I hate that for you.
Me too.
But I love
Thanks,
that for
Ava.
me. But I'm done.
Ava, thank you so much for joining us today for our first episode on Dress to Kill. Where can people find you, and what are you up to lately?
You can find me on the socials on Instagram at _Ava_Davis, or also similar configurations across the rest of social media. And these days, I am working behind the scenes on the trans romance series I had mentioned earlier, In the Midst of series, working with them as PR consultant, and then also trying to get season 2 made.
That's so cool.
Then starring in a play this fall.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
That's so awesome.
It's a T for T rom-com where are we or are we not spies? We don't know. That's what we find out. Right.
Oh.
I bought a hat. I bought a Carmen Sandiego hat, and it's amazing. And then
you're gonna look phenomenal in that.
So
Please do blonde hair with it. You can look like Bobby in that whole Carmen getup. I am obsessed with.
It's going to be blonde hair. It is a whole moment. I even have like nice wool, like coat double breasted, but it's flowy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Heck yeah.
And I get to wear gloves too, so we'll find out what happened to that lost glove. But in different
contexts. Thank goodness. We'll finally know.
Yeah, don't leave it behind. Yeah.
Don't do that. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of Morally Offensive. If you love the show enough to support us financially, we have a merch page over at www.morallyoffensive.com. We've got t-shirts, hats, special branded t-shirts and totes from our Filthy Habit series, from our Hot Pre-Summer series, and also a poker card deck for some reason. I think I just made that for myself. Again, it's at www.morallyoffensive.com. If you'd like to buy us a coffee, we have a link in our show notes where you can easily buy us a coffee and help keep us running, paying our hosting fees, and hopefully continuing to do more deep dives into research for the pod. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast in your podcast app of choice. This absolutely helps us get attention and raise awareness about the show. Next week, we'll be continuing our discussion about Dress to Kill with guest Ava Davis. Thanks again for listening, and as always, go and sin no more.